Hey, what's up guys? Rob of Rule of Two Review here, and today we're going to discuss Project Cars on the Wii U. So Project Cars was a pretty high-profile racing simulation game that was gaining a lot of press the last couple of years. It initially was a Kickstarter-funded campaign for a game that was only going to be releasing on the PC and the Wii U initially. However, it was funded so strongly that they actually ended up deciding to make, I think even at that time, probably 2 years ago now, a PS3, 360, PS4, and Xbox One version alongside the PC and the Wii U version. And then over time, they of course dropped the last gen versions, and it became a game only releasing on the Wii U, the PlayStation 4, the Xbox One, and the PC. Then sometime, throughout last year, there was a lot of different updates and news about the game. Eventually it was announced that just the Wii U version was delayed until the following year, but the other three versions were staying on track. And then it became all the versions got delayed until that next year, which at that point is now this year, 2015, but that the Wii U version still didn't have a date, whereas the other three did. This caused a lot of controversy because the Wii U version was the very first version of the game ever discussed and that was ever supposed to release. So it was initially a Wii U game, and the games was even funded by Nintendo and Wii U gamers, and PC gamers for the most part. So the fact that they added the other versions of the game really wasn't that big of an issue, but it certainly seemed as though the studio started to take a higher priority with the other versions of the game, which never got funded by its fans, over the initial Wii U and PC releases. So that's kind of a big deal. Project Cars was a game that I really didn't know too much about in the beginning, and I really wasn't hyped for. The more I learned about it and saw it and realized that it was coming to the Wii U, I realized, hey, even though I have all three consoles and a PC, I think the Wii U version is the one I'd want so I can support a game like this on the Wii U. I think it's cool that a game like this is coming to the Wii U because nowadays Nintendo doesn't really get a lot of these kinds of third-party simulation games. And I just really wanted to see what a game like this could be like, hopefully using that controller and see what the Wii U could really do visually. I thought that was going to be a lot of fun. And now here we are today with some revelatory news. The other versions, the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC versions have now recently released about a month ago. Critical reception is generally pretty positive. It's been getting, very, very good reviews. I think lots of 8s, 8.5s and stuff. So favorable reviews that definitely say, hey, this game is worth your time and money to invest in. And now everyone has been waiting to see what's going to happen with the Wii U version, myself included. And this news today kind of makes it sound as though that game could be in limbo. So as we all sit here waiting and wondering what's going to happen to Project Cars in the Wii U, one of the development heads at Slightly Mad Studios, the studio behind the game, has actually come out with some tweets and a couple of other quotes in an interview discussing some of the difficulties they're having with the Wii U version, which I think is really odd and kind of unfortunate. And it certainly has a lot of people worried about the future of the game on the Wii U. So I have a couple pretty long quotes to read from Ian Bell. But it kind of puts this whole thing in perspective, and then I'll discuss that afterwards. So, Ian Bell from Slightly Mad Studios says, and I quote, "Okay, I'll come clean. At the moment, we're running at about 23 frames per second at 720p on the Wii U. We're awaiting/hoping for more of a hardware announcement at E3. Honestly, unless we really cut the looks back, I think we're going to look to Nintendo's next console. I suppose if they don't announce something at E3 or soon after, we'll have to go at it." He then further says, "We could reach a fairly solid 30 frames per second on Wii U, but it might take a hell of a lot of work. Heaven forbid someone puts a hell of a lot of work into a game, but whatever. That's me, not the article here." On the other hand, about halfway through us finishing, Nintendo might announce a new console. I have zero knowledge of this, by the way, but I have heard rumors, he says. Our work might just be the best thing that ever hit the new console in the driving sim genre. So we're playing a waiting game at the moment, and yes, economics do come into it. Now that last sentence I don't really like what that is kind of insinuating, but I'll get to the final part of his quote here. So he then goes on to say, "So when we say the Wii U version is delayed in 2015 because we need a little more time, that's all it is. I just want to make sure it's of the same standard as of all the other games." That's a good thing, actually. I like hearing that part. To do that, we just need a little more time. I've seen the Wii U version. I've seen it quite regularly. It's got dynamic time of day, weather. It looks phenomenal. And the actual console itself is quite good. So those are the extent of his quotes. There's a lot of information to glean there. And again, bear in mind, I'm somebody who hasn't really been following this game that closely. It only came to my attention early last year. So I think that what a lot of people are taking away from this is two things. One, the game could be canceled outright, and I really want to believe what he's saying here. He makes it sound like it isn't, even though he says some scary things. He makes it sound like the game isn't canceled, and I'm optimistically hesitant to believe him. The other thing is because he mentions waiting for Nintendo's next hardware, obviously people wonder if it's just going to be delayed until the next Nintendo system, the NX or whatever that turns out to be. That's an interesting theory, and I hate to say it that I think that there could be some truth to that. Even though I would like to have a game like that launch with the system, and I think it could be a very strong launch title, this game also, I think, deserves to be delivered on the Wii U like it was initially promised and like Nintendo and Wii U gamers funded. Now, again, I am somebody who, having only limited knowledge of the game, I admit I haven't funded the game. I've never funded a Kickstarter game on, or a game on Kickstarter, I should say, but I'm going to be doing that for Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. As soon as I see a Wii U stretch goal, I will fund that game. That will officially be the first game that I ever fund. And even though I could play it on my Xbox One or PS4, I want to play that game on my Wii U. I want them to have a Wii U stretch goal, and that's when they'll get my money. So, but anyway, back to Project Cars. I definitely want to play this game, and when they discuss if it could release on the NX, I don't know, man. There's kind of a lot of different ways to go there. I feel like what will ultimately happen is this game will get delayed to the NX, to the Nintendo's next system, and at least that means that the game still comes out. I would like to see this come out on the Wii U. We're really just, you know, they're mentioning playing the wait and see game, and so I believe that we're just going to have to do the same thing. He mentions that he has no confirmation or any information from Nintendo about their next system, but he has heard probably the same rumors we have, and probably even more rumors, being that he's an industry insider, so he might have heard more solid things. It, to me, kind of makes it seem like they already know that they're going to wait for the hardware announcement. The big problem is we know that we're not going to see or hear of any new hardware at E3 this year, at least as far as like dedicated gaming, like a home console or a new handheld. I mean, Nintendo has said that they're not going to do that. Could they be lying about it, and could they end up just doing it anyway? Yeah, they could, but I don't think that's going to happen, so anyone getting their hopes up this year, I wouldn't. I think for sure that they're only going to talk about games and only games for this year, and that includes no Zelda. Some people think Zelda's still going to show up. I do not think that's going to happen either. So when Ian Bell from Slightly Mad Studios says that they're waiting on a new Nintendo system, I believe that they probably know enough to say that they are waiting. You know, I'm really surprised that I remember seeing a little bit of footage of the Wii U version a long time ago, and I think it's the only 15 seconds of footage of the Wii U version that exists. And it looked pretty damn good. And he said, I think I even saw this before the PS4 and Xbox One came out, but I could be wrong there. He goes back and says, you know, at the moment we're running at about 23 frames per second at 720p in the Wii U. I mean, I know that a game that looks really excellent couldn't run as well as it could on the other two systems on the Wii U, but I feel like this game should easily be able to run at better than 23 frames per second at 720p. We've seen gorgeous games, both realistic and fantasy looking, that have done, you know, 1080p and 60 frames per second on the Wii U. If anything, it's an efficient machine. At the very end of his quotes, he does say that the game looks phenomenal, and the actual console itself is quite good. So he's very smart, and he's letting people know, hey, the Wii U, as far as its hardware and its architecture and structure, is very capable of what they're trying to do, you know, and I think that that's a great thing to hear him say and confirm. Yes, he wouldn't want to say anything, you know, bad about the system. I totally understand that, but I believe that what he's saying is a true thing. Now, the other thing he mentions that kind of makes me nervous still about the fate of the game outright is, in one of his quotes, he says, we're playing the waiting game at the moment, and yes, economics do come into it. So, like I said when I read that quote, that phrase, economics do come into it, that really tells me that they're probably focusing more on the business decision here of how they're going to treat this game going forward. And to a very large degree, that makes sense. As always, a lot of us discuss this in this industry nowadays. We have to recognize that any development studio is a business and they're in it to make money first. I totally get that. But I think that he's almost trying to say that as like a preemptive excuse for if something really shitty happens with this game and people are going to be disappointed. And he's going to try to make it sound like, well, it just wasn't, you know, economically feasible for us to do it and blah, blah, blah. And if that really comes to pass, I'm going to call bullshit on that right now, because if you spend the time on the game to make it good, if you had delivered it on time like you were supposed to, this game would have had just as good of a chance as any to be successful, and then the only way economics would have come into it would have been to have another version of the game to make more money on, as in the version of the game that people already gave you money to create. This is the version that all those gamers gave you money for, was the Wii U version and the PC version. You've delivered on half that promise, and you created two other versions of the game that were never supposed to exist. That's fine. I'm glad more people get to play your game, but don't drop out on the Wii U. Don't drop out on the fans and the gamers who paid you. And again, I'm not one of those guys. Like I said, I have not paid them any money yet, but I do feel that the people who paid them money for the Wii U version absolutely deserve their game. And if the game comes out on the NX, at least that's kind of a pseudo delivering on that promise. But I really hope that that doesn't happen. I mean, I do and I don't. Like I said, I think that it would suck because it's not fair to the Wii U and the people who've been waiting for this game. And like I said, I'm going to pick this game up on the Wii U once it comes out, you know? So, but it's not fair to the people who've already paid for it and have been waiting for it. On the other hand, if they really deliver an amazing, beautiful next-gen launch title for Nintendo system, that's a third-party game, that could actually be pretty huge too. So that could be a huge benefit for Nintendo system. For all we know, Nintendo may end up talking to them and say, hey, we'd actually rather have you wait and just release this on our next system instead of on the Wii U. I mean, I don't really think that they could do that, but is it possible? Yeah, I think it's possible. So I don't know, man. I guess those are really my thoughts. You know, that's kind of a lot of info to go on. Is it coming out on the NX or is it coming out on the Wii U? Will it come out at all or is it canceled? What does it mean when he talks about the economics of things? How will the game really look and play once it's actually done? All these crazy things. Pretty exciting news because he says some positive things about the game that make me excited to see the finished product on the Wii U. This is the kind of game, you know, hey, development studios, I'm one of those gamers that has every current available gaming option to me, and I choose the Wii U over the competition. That's where I want to play this third-party game, is on my Wii U. Not my PlayStation 4, not my PC, not my Xbox One, my Nintendo Wii U. So there are lots of us out there who feel that way, so stop shitting on Nintendo fans and people who play the Wii U. It's not fair to us, and it's not fair to you, because you also miss out on a huge gaming audience. Yes, it only has 10 million units sold, but that's 10 million motherfuckers. That's a lot of people. Those are people who will buy your game if you make it good and you promote it properly and show us why you care about Nintendo systems, and the people who game on Nintendo's platform. So, I don't know, that's my little soapbox rant, I guess, to close out this episode. But as always, definitely share your thoughts about what's going on with this. Are you mad or are you not mad? Are you happy to wait for the NX, or do you just want the game out right now? Do you think that they're being kind of shady, or do you think that they're being honest and truthful? Lots of different angles. I always like to hear from you guys. Of course, if you're new to Rule of Two Review, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, like, share, and comment about Project Cars below. Thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you guys next time on another video for Rule of Two Review.